Good morning, it's Monday. We're just starting off the week. It's next week in isolation, in quarantine, and today's video is about how to stay on track in training, especially now in this quarantine isolation situation. And it's about 5 tips how to train and maybe even train better. So my tip number 1, to stay on track in training or even improve your training while being in isolation, maybe working in isolation, working at home, having this home office possibility, is to make a clear structure how and when to implement training into your day. So for me, it's pretty usual that I go for a 20-minute to 30-minute run in the morning as a CrossFit, more weightlifting and powerlifting related guy. That's okay. I'm just like getting my body up from my engine standpoint and being awake. It's waking me up like really well. That's something I would really encourage you to do in the morning, going for a small run, jog, kind of walk. I have a big dog, so that's kind of fitting as well, so I have to do it anyway, so I can just do it a little more. And then you're pretty much just did get started, and from this point on your body is already into a ready mode to train, and you got kind of maybe sometimes a little bit more work done in the beginning of the day than you would usually if you wouldn't have been like going for a run or something. That's my tip number 1. Just start off your day with some kind of training or get moving, just trying to get this body and this engine started, that you can go inside this home office situation, get some work done and train later in the day, but you're already like ready to do something because your body is warmed up already. The second important thing to like get your training right into this isolation situation is definitely having a proper planned out day when you're going to go out for a run, for example, like into one, when you're going to work, breakfast, when you're putting in your workout, your actual training. And to be productive in home office, especially having a strict plan, maybe even doing your meal prep as well for a normal day outside, can definitely help you to stay on track with all the things you want to accomplish. Having a fixed space into your timeline, a fixed spot where you have to train and get your training done, especially if you're someone that likes to work and is really pushing more time into your work. It's kind of easier to put your training in the beginning of the day, that you can just increase your work ethic afterwards, not missing out on your training. That's something that happens to me all the time, that I work all the day when I'm at home and kind of recognizing at 8 p.m. oh, I didn't train, so screw that. So tip number 2, really important to get your training done at home, is have a proper schedule of your day, and especially get your training done as soon as possible if you're someone that is not good in training in the evening or after your work because you're kind of smashed mentally. That's what my personal suggestion would be: getting training done at first, making the necessities of your body. For me, it's always training first. Tip number 3 of how to excel in training in isolation is definitely setting the right training priorities, not only from a training perspective standpoint, but as well from a equipment standpoint. So make sure that you kind of think about what can you do, what are your possibilities. Have you got like training stuff at home? Are you able to train at home? When's your sport? Or do you have to change like your priorities from a training perspective because you don't have the necessary equipment to train your native sport? So for us it's pretty luxurious. We do have like a full equipped weightlifting style home gym, and it's just because of we got really lucky because we wanted to open our first I don't know, personal weightlifting training style gym, and we didn't open half of a year ago, and at this point we are really lucky that we didn't, because we would be like bankrupt at this point with the situation. But so we have got like this possibility to train as native as possible, except the fact that I'm injured. But Isabel, for example, is as fit as she could be according to the situation. So it's really about setting the right priority about what to train and what you can train, and set a relation. And sometimes it's really important to make a switch and focus on other things you can train because you don't have the possibility to do the other things. So my point number 3 is setting the right training priorities based on your situation and the equipment you have got to do your training. Definitely. Tip number 4 is making the most out of your equipment. That means, in my opinion, think about what have you got from a equipment perspective. What does it allow you to do in order of your training goal? And if you don't have the necessary equipment to, I don't know, improve your max strength numbers with squatting above, I don't know, like 80% of your 1 rep max, or I don't know, lifting really heavy weights, you should think about how you can get closer to your training goal with using whatever you got. For example, if you haven't got heavy weights and you're not able to move heavy weights to improve your max strengths or your strengths and power in general, you could probably switch over to doing a lot more of plyometric movements and training, jump sprints and all the fast contracting stuff to improve your strengths and max speed as well. What would be in the end 1-to-1 like transferring to your max strength potential from a nervous system perspective. So my tip number 4 is definitely making the most out of the equipment you got, and especially don't like think about what you haven't got because you can't change it at this point, or think about investing in stuff you really need. Sometimes investing in a squat rack and a set of plates and a barbell is one of the best things you can do, and sometimes it's enough to get like 1 or 2 kettlebells, or I don't know, like a pull-up bar. Sometimes a pull-up bar is the best what you can do either. So whether look up like a perspective where how you can improve your situation with what you have got and make the best out of it, or be sure about that you have to invest like in your infrastructure to make possible what you want to train. So my tip number 4 is make the most out of your equipment, infrastructure and space you've got, and try to get closer to your goal no matter what you've got. Like no matter what you have, get your perspective. There's my goal, I want to go there, and what I can do now is this, this and this. That's my tip number 4. I'm just finishing off my training right now, and I've got like one more tip for you. What's like the biggest factor in the end when it's about improving your training at home and making the most out of your training situation right now in this isolation situation with the coronavirus. My tip number 5 to get more out of your training at home is definitely one of the biggest things that I always say about training when you have a tough time motivating and having the right mental power into training is a proper training plan. And especially in the actual situation where you're maybe a little bit limited in the possibilities and whatever you can train, and maybe your goals are shifting a little bit and you're a little bit thinking about what to train and have to orientate new and shifting perspectives a little bit about your training, you should sit down and think about what to train, when to train, and make a clear structure what to train, what day, how long, and when it takes place. A proper training plan and a goal in mind is now one of the most important things to make the most out of your training and the situation. I mean, having a proper training plan is always kind of better than like improvising kind of, but in the moment, if you feel a little bit like down and depressed about the situation training at home, sit down, make or get a proper training plan for yourself and start executing without asking again why you're doing that. Just think about your goal, shift your perspective, focus on what you can control and make the most out of this situation. I hope these 5 tips in this video help you to make the most out of your training. If it does, make sure like this video, subscribe to my channel if you want to get more input and positive vibes about long-term pain-free and especially performance training to improve your training performance on a long-term perspective and reach your full potential. I'm Fritz from my performance coaching, living in Berlin, Germany, and starting this YouTube channel challenge in English to challenge myself even more in a language that is not my mother tongue. So support me, comment below whatever you want to know, what I should do for a video, what kind of videos I should do, and I would really like to see you again here into the next video. That was weird. In German, I would say Tschüss.